Hey, Spannerman.
Spence,
welcome.
Thank you.
It's almost as if we didn't shoot this after the podcast.
It's almost like that, isn't it? But
so natural.
Hello, Spanner. No, mate, Spanner. Where's your riding gear?
Well,
You just ride down like that.
I put it in the panniers. It's summer. It's the middle of summer.
Oh, naturally.
By gee, you've got a nice
Wow.
bike here.
That is pretty.
Have a look at that.
Yes, and I'm
It's
going
in
to
beautiful
tell you,
condition,
I'm going to
isn't
tell you all about it during the podcast.
Oh, yeah? That'll be good.
When you do the podcast.
When I do the
How come
podcast.
the sun's lower in the sky?
It's the miracle of movies.
What I'm amazed about with this though, Grant, is
Yes.
that because you have always enjoyed. Hang on, can you stand that so I'm taller?
Yep. Oh,
You've always loved living this austere lifestyle.
yeah.
Now you're riding around Castlemaine like King Dick.
Do you think a bike that was manufactured in 2001 is making a statement?
For you
about
it
motor?
is.
For
The
me,
shit as you
for
get
me
around
it
on.
is. I
This
know,
is
but
flash.
generally speaking, people still spit on me. You know, 2001 was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago.
But
I think you've done very well. It's a lovely
the
thing.
previous owners did a great job looking after this.
Do you reckon it's ever been on its side?
Oh no, it's never fallen over.
I don't think it has.
And I don't think it's ever been on dirt.
I really love the 1150.
Yeah.
I think this is great. And when you die, I'm going to really enjoy putting it in my shed.
Well, I'm leaving it to you in the world.
Thanks, mate.
Quickly, boys, let's go and do the podcast.
Right.
Okay, quick, into the workshop.
Da-da-da-da.
I've done a hernia.
This is the INFO MOTO podcast.
Presented by Autoglim. Spencer, can't we get there and you go, how'd you go cutting the podcast? Oh, I just chucked it straight in.
Yeah. It's good, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Welcome to the INFO MOTO podcast.
Oh, sorry, I spoke halfway through that.
It's all right.
G'day, Spence. G'day, Grant.
Greg.
It's Christmas again.
Spence.
Spanner.
Spence, and Snag.
Oh, the three S's.
Just works perfectly, doesn't it?
Yep.
It's Christmas again, and we're here for our annual Info Moto extravaganza podcast.
Yes, and I've shaved my beard off about 20 seconds before you said we were going to do this. So I should have left it.
I could knit that into a decent mohair coat, I reckon. Anne-Marie, actually a good friend of mine, was saying, she said, Grant actually looks pretty good with and I said, yes, he's had the annual shearing. And I furthered it by saying he's not a bad looking bloke, but he's with that horrible beard and stuff that he tends to think's all right. He's always looked about 70. So now that you are, around that figure,
Well,
you actually look all right.
Well, thanks very much, Greg. That's
a compliment, isn't it?
That's a great compliment. Yes.
I think you look good. You're doing very well for a man of your years.
Well, I still resent it though. I mean, even though I only get a haircut once a year, she charged me $45.
Well, Shearer's only come into town once.
Well, it's funny you say that.
It's hard to get you
because
up the ramp as well.
She said I wouldn't normally charge this much, but it takes so long to clean up after you're gone. So that could have been the source of the $45. But geez,
Well, look,
it's a number 4 blade too. It's just hair.
I would have gone to
beard.
3, I reckon.
Oh well,
But then again, that might be overcapitalising it. You probably have, how long have we got left?
well,
We don't know that, do we?
your yearly haircut.
God's cutting my hair now.
God's cutting your hair.
He's taking a hand in it.
What do they call this? Is the widow's peak?
Wisp. Well, the girls seem to like it, so
Oh really? Okay,
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to finding that
they
out.
seem to like it when it's walking out the door. I know that.
All right.
Anyway, Spence, that's enough from the old people. How's life in your generation?
Oh, grim. Shocking.
Listen, we've left you a good world. It's completely polluted. We're going to die having driven V8s all over the country with no policing.
Yeah.
We've bought all the houses for 5 cents.
Yeah.
What are you whinging about?
Took all the jobs.
Took all the jobs. So what are they got to get out and do a hard day's work, those bloody youngsters.
Well, yeah, they're not used to it though.
They're not used to it.
No, they won't work.
We've completely destroyed the planet and we're just toddling off quite happy, aren't we?
Did we have a great time? Though?
Oh, we had a great time.
That's what matters.
That's what matters.
That's the friends you make along the way.
Yeah, that's the friends you make. Well, look on the bright side. Yes, we did buy the houses for 5 cents in premium suburbs, some better than others. But you're going to get them. You'll end up with them.
We'll see. I'm not holding my breath.
I can't imagine you and your brother sitting down talking about how you're going to divide the estate.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, I've made it rock solid. I've made it 50-50.
Heads or tails?
Yeah. That's it. All right. Well, welcome to the podcast, everyone. Brought to us by AutoGlim, our sponsor. We're very happy to have on board. Your bike, I went out and had a look at. Now, that's probably a good time to go straight into this, Spence. I wandered out there. Grant was on time, actually on time today to the magnificent INFO MOTO studio. And I wandered out there, and my goodness me, one of the nicest yellow R1150 GSs I've seen in years sitting there. And I thought, well, he's either stolen this or got a dink from somebody.
Oh, no, I got it the hard way. I've never done this before, but I bought a bike sight unseen.
You could have fooled me with some of the nails you've got.
That might be the key to it.
That was usually a result of me not having any money. But in this particular case, and people are doing this all the time now, the bikes are available all over Australia. They'll find the bike that they want. They won't get to look at it. They don't even get to a mechanical inspection on it. They'll pay for it and then get it shipped to their place and hope that when it comes off the back of the truck, it's as advertised. They hope that what was on the box is in fact what they're getting. And sometimes it doesn't work, obviously. But in this particular case, the guy lived in the bottom of Tasmania, and the bike was
That's almost Antarctica, isn't it?
Well,
Tasmania.
close, very close.
Very close.
But the bike had been advertised for weeks, and it was a really good-looking bike, and it wasn't very much money. I mean, he wanted 7.5.
Thief.
Yeah, that's right. And I said I'd have to come and get it, and it was going to cost money to get it back on the boat to the mainland.
Well, he probably knew that.
So we went for 6.8. So
it's the nicest one I've seen.
I think that's a really good buy.
well, it's turned out to be really good. It's what it said on the box. But picking it up wasn't that much fun.
Did anything happen on the trip picking it up?
Well, I had to get up at 4 a.m. to get to the airport.
That's what time we come home, Spence, isn't it? That's not time we get up.
Yeah, to get to the airport to fly to Hobart, where he very kindly, the owner and his wife, picked me up. But it's a bit of a trap, isn't it? I'm sitting there with $6,800,
Yes.
and they're giving me a lift to the bike. Now,
Yes.
in the bottom of Tasmania, what happens if I don't like it?
Yes.
I'm in the bottom of Tasmania with
You've
two
spent,
people,
what,
You're on
$1,200
the
bucks
bus.
getting there.
yeah, who probably don't like me anymore
Yeah.
because they've gone to all that trouble and I didn't buy the bike.
Yes.
So, but the bike was good. But
Yes.
then I had to get to the
Good. It's very good.
I had to get to the ferry.
Pardon me.
I only had a limited amount of time. I had to ride this bike I've never been on before. That I don't know whether it's mechanically good or not. I had to ride it from the bottom of Tasmania up to the ferry for the night trip.
You'd get to know the bike over that period.
Well, there was getting to know somebody or something was part of my concern while I was riding, because I don't think you can do it now, but on the ship, you could share a cabin with a complete stranger. They're not doing it anymore because of COVID, but the only bed I could get on the ship was
With someone you don't know.
Bubba.
Oh. It was a lottery and you lost it.
Well, he'd just been released from prison and he was going.
I think
back
he got
to,
the rough end of the steel, to be honest. But anyway, press on.
he was going back to Melbourne to kill the people who testified against him.
Right.
So
It's a small cabin too, isn't it?
very small cabin, yeah, and particularly small for him because it rained on the way from the bottom of Tasmania. So I'd hung all my wet weather gear up in the cabin. And it was all dripping on the floor. And on the,
Yeah. Oof.
yeah. But as it turned out, Bubble was fine, and I was the worst person
Come over
in the cabin.
come and the old gag about mummy and daddy.
Yeah,
We probably
that's
won't
right.
do that one.
No, we won't do that one. No.
I don't think we will.
Yeah, just in case your sponsors are watching.
Yes. Yes.
No, he was good. And as
Did
I
he
say,
talk?
Yeah, he talked.
But like in a generally sane sense? Or?
Yeah, nice guy. But he was a bit worried sleeping with a bikie in the
You have got a reputation.
in the small cabin. But
If I know you, you would have had about 2 bottles of Dr. Lindeman's cheapest.
I did preload.
Yeah,
I got
that'll
on
be
the
a bit
boat,
for it,
because the grog's very expensive on the.
It is. You've got to. I've necked many a tinny on that pier.
Yeah. I was about to say the Able Tasman, but that was quite a while ago, wasn't it?
That was before the Princess of Tasmania, I think.
But it's funny because all my friends call it the Able Tasman. I don't know what it's actually called
I actually
now.
do
but
too.
Yeah.
I do too.
Yeah.
I remember years ago it was the Princess of Tasmania yellow boat.
Yeah.
It's about half the size of the.
Yeah. But we arrived, I got the bike off, got home, but I'd been up for about 2.5 days at this stage, and I'd done thousands of kilometres, and it was somewhat risky when you think you don't know what the bike's like.
It is pretty risky.
Is it going to make it?
It'd be a really dull trip back, wouldn't it, if it was not all
up
was
to
cracked
scratch.
Yeah.
Well, I would have had to walk back to Hobart for starters because there's no public transport.
You probably would
or
have bought it
electricity.
anyway. It would have been I'll just buy it anyway. Sell it for $3,000 when I get there.
Anyway, I've done a couple of big trips on it, and it's a great bike.
Well, it does draw into question, Grant, that bikes of that ilk, about that age, that have been that's clearly been garaged and loved.
Yeah.
There's a market in that middle spot for bikes like that they're still quite cheap, aren't they? That was a good deal, but they're all out there.
But I don't think it's, you can still buy bikes like that for that price. And it's quite an old bike. It's a 2001 model, but I did it deliberately because that particular model had wire wheels.
Yes.
It had a 6-speed gearbox.
Yes. It's yellow.
It's yellow. What it didn't have is all the electrics that muck up. I mean,
Yes.
it was.
It'd have ABS, wouldn't it?
No.
Right.
Doesn't have ABS.
I'd like ABS in the best world, but I take your point. You haven't got
Yeah, but 2001 ABS is a bit of a different beast.
pretty
though.
on and off switch.
Yeah.
But if you've seen Grant ride, he doesn't need brakes anyway. He just sort of slows down gradually.
Well,
Fred Flintstone.
Yeah.
they've got that interesting front suspension arrangement, which makes ABS possible.
Telelever.
Yes.
It's called, Grant, in the
Yes.
game.
Well, I didn't want to blind you with science, Greg.
Yes.
So,
No, thank you.
and that does part of the job of ABS. So I'm not too concerned.
It certainly
about that.
separates braking from fork dive.
Yep.
Which I think it was it's as ugly as a hatful, but it was certainly was a real move forward.
Yeah.
They're a really good bike, I reckon. I think the 1150 is. I know that this is very easily disproven by science, but my gut feel is that it's a good bike. That's the best of them.
By truth and science. There's a lot of people who agree with you.
Yeah, I like them.
And this one's done about 50,000 K, so I'm expecting a long and happy service life from it.
It'll see you out.
Well, I don't think it'll see me out, but and I do have a couple of.
Can
other
I have
bikes.
it when you
Is this a good time to?
bring up the hernia?
Well, no,
Sorry.
to make that commitment because it's being recorded.
Yeah. Yes.
Because normally, if we were just in the pub, I'd say, "Of course you can have it." But
I've given my bike to about 7 different people.
Have you really?
There's going
Oh,
to be a big argument at the end of it. As soon as I'm pissed, they say, "Can I have it when you die?" And I go, "Yeah, of course you can."
well, Bill McKinnon and I swapped bikes in our wills, so I left him my R60/6, and he left me his Ducati.
Monster.
No, a proper one, a GT 750.
Oh, you win.
He sold it though.
Well, that's
So
a man can't go back on his word
So-
like that.
Bill dies, I don't get the
But he
GT
still gets the
750,
66.
and he still gets the 60/6.
Yeah.
It's not fair.
No, I'd worry about that.
Well, anyway, look, I'm very happy, folks, with my new toy, and as I say, I expect a long and interesting and happy service life with it.
Well, speaking of yellow bikes, I bought one too.
You did.
I bought a 1200 Daytona Triumph.
Yep.
And very happy with it.
Well, if you'd asked me what is the least appropriate bike I could buy, I would have named that bike.
That would have been in the grand final.
Absolutely.
It's fantastic. It's a great motorbike.
How do you get on it?
Well, I get a couple of mates to come over. And
Yeah,
it's actually not that tall.
it's big. It's big and heavy.
Some of us can deal with, some of us have been riding long enough that,
Yep.
what is a Melbourne Cup winner? Have you seen a jockey lately? Like, if you're good at what you do.
You know me, I don't like to be critical, but
No, it's not in your DNA.
no, but it's one bike that I can't see the purpose of. It's not a sports bike because
Here's
it's
me.
too big and
I've just
heavy.
completely
Yeah, I know.
effusively
I know.
bloody
I know.
been kind about you and your nail old shitter out there.
No.
And I'd go the same way, and you go, the least appropriate bike ever built.
This year I decided to tell the truth all the time. Shithead.
When? What, last Tuesday?
Yeah.
It's a great bike.
It's not a sports bike. It's too big and heavy. It's certainly not an off-road bike. It's not
a gentleman's
multi-pedal.
express.
Well, but what does express mean in 2023?
Don't try and turn it.
Well, yeah.
It's good going there.
Yeah, okay. Just idle up to 160, 170 k an hour on the freeway. Run into the police.
It's very fast.
Run into the police. They crush the bike. You spend years in jail.
I can see how these bargains
Then they
come
fine
up.
you.
I'm going to sell this.
And you use the.
I'm going to put this in Motorcycle Trader next week. And hang on.
Yes.
I'll find a way to sell it.
Yep.
I love it. It's a big, lovely, gorgeous thing. And when they're in good nick, and there weren't that many of them made.
This one
about
is
5,000 on the planet.
I will acknowledge yours is probably the best of them.
Yeah, and it goes well, and it's fast, and I like it. And look, it's a second bike. It's a great second bike, and everyone's got a silly second, or hopefully having ruined the planet for Spence's generation and those after him, you can afford a second bike.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm very happy with that, and it's in the shed. We go down and look at it now and then, and I go back upstairs, and ride my BMW XR happily.
Do you think yellow bikes are going to make a comeback?
No. That's why they're 6,800.
Yeah, that's right. Instead of 10,000.
People are sick of being called a small L liberal.
Yep.
On riding them.
No, I think the yellow's nice. I like it.
And look,
which is lucky because I get to see a lot of it when I'm sitting on that bike.
I reckon they look great. I love the shape of it. It's just a good thing. The 1200s are great, and the 1250 and blah blah blah. Well, now the 1300 Spence. They're going to have a 1300 GS.
Oh well, that's the rumours suggest. So
that's the
I'm
talk.
I'm sure they'll up the capacity. They got to, I guess. Not going to make it smaller, are they?
Oh, you've ridden the 1250, haven't you?
Yeah, of course. A couple of times.
Do they need to be any faster?
No, they don't need to be any faster.
What's the actual gain in, other than the fact I suppose it's a bigger bike and you get to brag about that?
It could be 3 cc's more. Honestly, it just sounds better.
That's the other thing that's happened with bikes. They'll call something an 850 and it's a 650.
Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah,
it's so true.
What happened to that? Why did that happen?
I mean, it's just a way of people thinking about what the category the bike is in. Less so about
being technically specific about its
like
capacity.
a 700 is anywhere from 550 to 800. That's all.
And we'll just accept that because it'll become the norm.
Yeah, who cares?
I remember when BMW brought out the car, the 4-door, and they called it a coupe.
Yes.
Yeah, they still do that.
Yeah,
it's about the C-pillar.
I was almost going to do a gesticulation there, but I won't. Really, coupe is 2-door.
Yeah, no, it doesn't mean that anymore.
Oh, Spence,
what's happening to the planet?
I've read that
can't get a crackerjack in a Coupe de Ville.
There ain't no Coupe de Ville at the bottom of a crackerjack box, Grant.
Is that right?
You can take that to the bank.
Okay, I'll remember.
You'd
that.
probably shoot that again if you were going to do it properly.
This looks really professional, doesn't it? This bottle of Coke. I can't have my VB.
I'm as dry as a Pommy's towel over here. I'm telling you.
Sorry, Spannerman.
It's full of rum.
Sorry to our friends in Great Britain.
Yep.
Remember the Norton?
I've read that the GS is going to be a 1400.
Oh, you have?
They've got one in development at the moment.
How do they do that?
I don't know about that.
Well, and I think one of the reasons they're doing it, it's not for more power because the 1150's got as much power as a bike that size needs. But the competition is getting bigger.
Yeah.
So when you consider, say, a comparison of the GS with, say, the Harley Pan American,
it's a 1250.
Well, there goes that argument.
And the triple speed, the
I
Tiger 1200 is 1150, isn't it? Your argument's wrong.
Do we have to? Do we start this again? Or?
No, of course we don't.
No, we don't leave it. No, we own up to the fact that Grant doesn't know a great deal.
I'll stand by what I said. That
I think your point's right.
It's about competition and it's about
a point of difference.
And being able to offer something that appears to be better.
Yeah,
Yes.
like if the next one was an R1150 again and it made 20 more horsepower, it doesn't sound as good, does it?
No, correct.
It's a backward step.
And also, they can call it whatever they like. You could make it, as we just said, you could make it 1400 and call it 1800
Well,
if you
if
want.
it makes 160 horsepower, fine. You can do whatever. You call it whatever.
Call
you
it
want.
whatever you like. Call the police.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
So, yes, the Daytona, your GS, and Spencer's spent a bit of time. Now, some of us are here, grinding away in the, vacuuming the studio and, making sure that
Why do I feel like this is going to turn
the
into
bills
this
are
song?
getting paid.
Run, Spence. Run.
Others remain nameless.
Yes.
Are in the front end of an aeroplane, laying back, having rose petals thrown in front of them, and carried on the plane with a sedan chair. How was your trip to Spain, Spence?
It's all right.
Oh, it's all right. So tell us about it. You went to ride the BMW M1000RR and the R. Right?
That's right. So
With respect, I would have been shitting myself.
yeah, I was
Going to that
I was
launch.
shitting myself.
Yeah, that's not a slow bike.
No,
On a racetrack.
Plus, you're going with a bunch of Neanderthal
yeah,
ex-racers.
yeah.
Then they know no
I
fear.
kind of actually had like a panic attack. Like,
Yeah, I had a panic attack and I wasn't even going. I had one on your behalf.
yeah.
Tell us about it though, Spence. Almeria, Spain.
That's right. So landed in Alicante, and on the first day I rode the M1000R, which is the S1000R with aero, an extra 33 kilowatts. So it makes the same power as the S1000RR superbike in a naked bike. It's got these huge wings, like it makes 11 kilograms of downforce at 200 kilometers an hour. And you can feel it. Like even if you're just riding it, you can feel it. The front end does not want to come off the ground. It's incredible. It's just solid.
Yeah. And you're on those beautiful Spanish roads.
Yeah. No traffic, billiard table smooth, fast. Because you can, I mean, you're not under any, local government. Who cares?
Yeah.
There's no, you know what I mean?
That's the attitude you've always taken, right?
Yeah.
Well, yes.
But yeah, was it thrilling?
It was really thrilling. Once I got my eye in a bit, it was okay.
Yeah.
And I think actually what makes BMW 4-cylinder models so special is the electronics let you completely take the piss, but they don't feel like they're kicking in.
Yeah. Such as the sophistication.
Yeah, you don't notice it. The big deal on both the M1000R and the S1000RR Superbike, it's not like a massive update, but it now has it'll slide in for you. So under heavy
You like to slide the front end a bit, don't you, Grant? Or
Only when I'm crashing, usually.
slide the front end?
So I don't know exactly how it works, but when you're under heavy braking and the back end comes out, you stand on the rear brake and it using the ignition,
Just backs it in.
it'll hold the slide. And then another function, it will hold the slide out of the corner as well. So like the
Unbelievable.
paradigm
Absolutely
has shifted. You
unbelievable.
could be completely sideways. And I was talking to,
in
some of
relative safety.
yeah.
Yep.
I was talking to some of the
Complete safety, I think.
Well, no, it's not complete
Well,
safety.
he's here.
The laws of physics still apply.
Right,
You can
okay.
overdo it.
Yeah, I guess.
I'm sure you could overdo it, but man, you'd have to be really brave.
Really
You'd have
stupid.
to be really brave. I was talking to the project lead, Ralph. I don't want to mispronounce his name, but Molliken or something, German.
Yep.
And he's telling me, you'll find when the rear's coming out, you'll find, you'll feel about 7 degrees of slide. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I'll be testing that thoroughly.
Thank you, Fritz.
Racetrack?
Yeah, Almeria Circuit, which is right next to Andalusia. Same sort of thing. Remy Gardner and Pedro Acosta are out with me.
Did you show him the front wheel a couple of
Oh,
times?
yeah. They were running scared.
Yeah. Yeah, they put it away and had an early lunch.
Yeah.
I bet.
Remy's given up MotoGP racing as a result.
Yeah. But tell us about like the professionalism of a international launch. Like, I think it's a feather in your cap that 2 people from Australia invited and you were one of them.
Yeah, that was cool.
I think that was a feather in both INFO Moto's cap and indeed yours. But what was it like, the professionalism? How was it run?
It was such a fantastic experience. Like, you just talking to a guy and then he goes, oh, yeah, this is my bike, the M1000R.
Yeah.
You know,
He's had a hand in building
you're
it.
secretly a genius.
Yeah.
You know? And
So
he's
he'd be
this
a technical-
25-year-old, good-looking German guy, you know.
He'd be like a
casual as you like.
design head or a bloody engine head or
Head honcho. I think he signs off on everything.
yeah.
It's just incredible. Roads, amazing. The bikes are amazing. They just are. I mean,
Yeah, they are.
It's incredible.
Yep.
And so, yeah, I mean,
Hospitality?
it was casual but nice. There's always beers.
Pretty rough old room in a flag inn.
Yeah, it wasn't the Ritz because like, yeah, I was hoping for a little bit more luxury. No, it was lovely.
As he's laying in the big double bath. This could have been bigger.
Yeah. When you answer the invitation, it's always wise to put, just to remind them, no drink, no ink.
Yeah.
The old saying.
And they go, oh, yeah, of course, make sure the bar fridge in his room's full.
Remember the old days, Grant? We used to go the better the meal, the worse the bike. Usually,
Yeah,
as soon as we went to a flash joint, you go, "This will be a shitter."
this will be a nail.
Yep.
This is the INFO MOTO podcast.
Presented by Autoglim. Now, Spannerman, I wanted to ask you because for part of the year I was ringing your telephone and it was going. Well, you rarely pick it up when I ring anyway, but. You were overseas researching a book, they tell me.
I was, yes. Foolishly, 10 minutes before COVID struck, I'd signed a contract to write a book on 20 great rides of the world.
The world.
Tough gig, Spanner.
Well, they paid me a handsome advance, the publishing company, and the advance is a bit of money they give you up front so that you can go and do the research that's necessar But of course,
danger.
Well, I spent it on motorcycle parts almost immediately. that
R1150
R1150.
And the rest you wasted.
Well, the rest I wasted. Yeah. But because of the inability to travel during COVID, the publication date for the book's been put back a couple of years, so it's due to be released in 2024, early in 2024, and the manuscript needs to be delivered in November of this coming year, 2023. But
that's not bad. You've got plenty of time.
Well,
don't hurry on that.
Have you started writing?
Yes. Yep.
It's a great idea.
It is a great idea.
It turns out it'll be the first book of its kind. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, oh, well, there's hundreds of books around about great rides in the world. There are lots of books about individual adventures. So, my trip from England to Australia or conquering the Andes and things like that. So, but they're individual stories. They're not, here are 20 great rides.
No.
But it's problematic. I mean, I partly agreed to it because I've done probably half the roads that I think are great rides already. And I'll use my fabulous memory and my old black and white slides to illustrate it. So I had to do some research for perhaps 10 rides, which was part of the UK Europe trip that I did this time. So it was 6 weeks. Triumph very kindly lent me a 1200 Adventure.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect bike for the job.
Well, it
1200
was.
Explorer.
Yeah, jeez. I didn't even notice the mistake. That's how bad that is.
Yeah.
He makes it, I don't notice it, and the brains just laughs at him.
No, we're talking about whether I should be here or
Jesus
not.
Christ.
Yeah, no, that's all right. That's all right.
1200 Adventure. There's about 3 brands that have got one of those.
No, but
And it's not that one.
I called it the Adventure while I was riding it.
Oh, I see.
So
yeah.
that was its
no.
name. It's not the actual model.
No, it's the Explorer.
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
No, well, that's my story. I'm going to stick to that.
Yeah.
But it was it was a terrific bike, and it was just right for the roads I did.
So you started in the UK?
Yes.
And did, of course, the North Coast 500 or whatever?
Up the top of Scotland.
Yes,
That was one of the roads. The coastal route in Northern Ireland.
Okay. And then then the bike then goes on a ferry across to France or something?
No, I left it in England after I'd done 3 other roads that I'm going to include in the book. But it raised raised a very interesting question right from the beginning, which is, what's a great road? And
yeah, good question.
everybody said
Different for different people.
Well, but every time I said, "Oh, this is what I'm doing," they'd said, "Oh, well, the Great Ocean Road, you including that?" And we're sitting.
You can't do them all.
Is the criteria, Spanner, sorry to cut you off, is it a great road for riding a motorcycle at pace? Or is it more all-encompassing than that? How have you approached
like
it?
the scene? Is it scene?
Yes, it's all those elements have to be included. So it's not just racing. As you know, sometimes if a road is really good and you're riding in a spirited manner, you don't actually notice much scenery.
No.
You're looking at the road. You're looking around corners. So this is a far more
It's always a
generalist
subjective thing, isn't it?
Well, the Great Ocean Road is going to be in the book.
Yes.
But would you describe it as a great
Oh,
road?
the first time you ride it, yeah, it's great.
What do you think, Spence?
Well, no, it's not as good as the Skeens Creek Road or anything like that. It's not as good as a lot of the roads that veer off the Great Ocean Road. But the views are incredible, and I think probably it would be hard for me to judge because I lived on it for 3 years,
Yep.
So the 12 Apostles and stuff, it's got a good destination in it.
Yes.
But you can't ride it fast at all.
Oh, it's mostly 80 and some 60
And
now.
there's always roadworks, and it would be flat out dangerous to really even put any effort.
Yes. A lot of tourists.
But you would have ridden it back in the day when
Yes.
possibly it was different.
Well, he rode it when it was dirt.
Well,
He paved it.
I helped build it. I was one of the
Grant
diggers who came back
founding
from
father.
the war.
Came back from the Somme and said, well, I've got a shovel. I may as well
I'll give this road a go.
give this road a go.
There was a time when it was far quieter on the Great Ocean Road, and the road was in better condition because it wasn't being used as much, and that's where its reputation came from.
Yes.
So the problem is that all over the world, people think, oh, Australia, the Great Ocean Road, that must be fantastic. And there was a time when it was fantastic, but if you pre-COVID, it was covered in tourist buses.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very much so.
And all kinds of like tourists driving on the wrong side of the road
Yes.
too, which is like a motorcyclist's worst enemy.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. The last time I did it pre-COVID, it was a very slow and agonising trip because of the buses doing 30 and 40 kilometres an hour.
Most of the time it is that way.
Yeah. And pushing all the gravel into one part of the road, which is usually the line you would take on a bike if you wanted to get round the corner.
Yeah.
But look, it comes back to that definition. There's plenty of road. That's a road you go, well, yes, it is a great ride. It's not a great ride for a fast. It's a great ride for a view and a look around.
So you didn't include it? Is that what you're getting?
No, it's in.
No, it's in.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, it's one of those things that it's kind of has to be in, even though I don't necessarily enjoy riding it these days.
I guess if you can consider its history and stuff.
Yeah, and when you think about the great rides of the world, there are some iconic rides that are in the same boat as the Great Ocean Road, where they once were terrific rides. They probably aren't now, but they're in folklore. They're in legend.
Stelvio Pass.
Stelvio Pass is a really good example.
Perfect
Snag
example.
we were talking about this the other day, and Snag goes, it looks incredible, but their hairpin's so sharp.
Yeah.
It's a nightmare, the Stelvio Pass. A lot of them are.
Well, it's not in it, so.
Well, people keep going, oh, the Stelvio Pass, it's fantastic. I couldn't wait to get there. And yes, it's spectacularly incredible, but it's first gear switchbacks.
Yeah.
And once you've done 107 of them, I don't care who you are, Casey Stoney, you're still coming out of them at about 15 kilometres an hour.
In first
You
gear.
belt up to the next one and you hard brake.
Yep.
And then you tip over and you think, geez, I could fall on the side. I'm going that slow here. And once you've done that 1,000 times, but the view is incredible.
Grouse on a super motard or something.
Yeah, look, if you're a great rider, but there's push bikes all over the joint and tourists. And again, I'm glad I've done it. It was beautiful, and it is beautiful to look at, But that switchbacky pass stuff, you can stick it up your jumper, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, when you're lying in bed at night and not being able to sleep, just construct your own list of 20 great rides.
Very difficult.
Yeah, well, it is difficult, yeah. But it would have to include some of these iconic roads.
I've got some
in fact great rides.
I've got some favourite little quiet ones up in East Gippsland that are just absolutely nail that. But I reckon, as you've probably done with your 20 that you've chosen, if you went up to a local in the area, they'd say, mate, I'll show you a road that kills that. And of course you will. You've lived there all your life and you know a better road, it's quieter. And
or if you go to New Zealand, where every single ride is better than any of the ones that in the rest of the rest of the world.
Okay, so you know you've done the UK and clearly the Great Ocean Road. And how did you get onto the continent, and what happened in regard to the setup there?
Well, that's giving trade secrets away, but I did hire a car to do
you say
a couple of the roads in
Camry.
No, it was a Fiat.
Fix it again, Tony.
Fix it again, Tony. No, it was very reliable. It was a bit of a mess when I gave it back, but that's
another story.
That's another story. But,
that's in another book, 100 shitters I've driven.
Yeah.
Or ruined.
I've got to go to the States, though, probably.
Are you allowed in America now? With your communist ties?
Well, courtesy of Harley Davidson, who
the 5-year visa
kindly took me there for a bike launch, and because Harley Davidson was supporting me, they didn't bother looking at my record. So I was able.
Comrade.
So I'll be able to go to the States, but I've got 3 or 4 rides I have to do there to conclude the research. And
so that West Coast ride, what they call it, the Pacific Highway.
Holland Highway. Well,
goes up into San Francisco.
San Francisco, LA, that loop. But I've done that on a Harley Davidson launch.
Yes.
And if I can find the official photos of that launch, I won't have to bother taking pics while I'm there. So that's going to be.
So is that the only one? Oh, you have got to go to New Zealand too?
No.
What about our friends over the ditch? They've got some nice roads over there, Grant.
Well, I've ridden extensively in the South Island, and
so you've done enough to
my
be able
notes
to
and
bullshit that
images. Well, I wouldn't call it bullshit.
No, sorry, research.
Yeah. One of the great things about the South Island is that when they built the roads there, they didn't have very much money, so the roads are quite narrow and the bridges are very narrow.
Yes.
So because the road network there doesn't support trucks, there's hardly any industry in the South Island.
Yes.
So the roads are in good condition because trucks aren't using them.
There's a few trucks going down to Christchurch, I reckon, with a bit of tar and concrete on it.
Yeah, Christchurch is a little bit different.
Is that still there, Christchurch?
Yes.
Yeah, it's still there. Right.
Yeah. Don't know how, but well.
So you've done. I'll have another go.
Yep.
How did you get to the continent?
I flew to Italy.
Okay, Milan.
Yes.
Right, Malpensa probably.
Well, and because it was convenient to.
What movie did you watch on the plane? Twister.
No. It was the Poseidon Adventure again. You know.
Did you go with Qantas? They would have just strapped you on at Qantas. And your bags are still over there, and the little Irish bloke's getting richer and richer. And
no, look, all the link stuff worked. The mistake I made was that the schedule was too tight. And it didn't allow for the fact that if it was raining and I couldn't ride and I couldn't take photos,
you lose the day.
You lose the day, and then your ferry to Northern Ireland is leaving at 9 o'clock the next morning. So it's not as if you can put things back. So,
you wouldn't have thought of that.
If I had my time again, I'd probably spend a bit more time collecting the information.
So you flew to Milan. What bike did you pick up there?
That's where I picked up the Fiat, the hire car.
Oh, right.
And I used that for Germany and
well, the road's the same,
France,
isn't it?
and
it's about
Spain
the road.
And
understood.
And
I'm not going to put you down about that.
No. Well, that's
some people might.
That's all right. I hired bikes in.
It's a bit soft, but
I hired bikes after I gave the car back.
Yep. Well, so what other bikes did you hire? Another Fiat?
No. No, they were just scooters.
Jesus Christ!
Can we not dwell?
This is
going
to be a shit book. I was going to ask if we can put Info Moto.
It's not going to be
sponsorship
a shit book.
on it, but
it's going to be a great book.
Right, it's going to be a great book. How to ride your scooter around wherever it's not raining.
Well, the scooters were particularly valuable.
Sorry, mate. I don't feel good about this now.
Yeah, no.
Can we rerun that? But Spence, I don't feel good about that.
Right.
Amalfi Coast.
That'll come out, will it?
No, wait, leave it in.
It's in.
Yeah,
It's in.
The Amalfi Coast.
I apologise, Grant.
That's all right, Greg. I accept your apology. The Amalfi Coast is scooter city. If you're not on a scooter, you're a nobody.
Yeah, and you can actually quickest way to get anywhere.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
no,
if you were
understood.
on a BMW 1150 GS
Adventure.
you'd be slow as a wet week.
Sorry, what are you calling the book again? Spanner's Best Roads
20 Great Rides World.
by Grant Roth or by Spannerman?
I'd
go with Spannerman.
Would you?
Oh, it's got a bit of cachet.
Well, if it's not going to be a very good book, I might
It's not going to be a very
go
good
with
book.
Greg Leach.
Yeah, you better not.
Well, why not?
As I said, I was going to ask for an Info Moto logo on it, but I've decided against it. No, I think it'd be fantastic, and you're a good writer, and you have a turn of phrase and a wit, and I'm sure it'll be very entertaining.
Well, I hope it's going to be a little.
I'll wait till it's in the bargain bin about 2 weeks later.
2 weeks later.
Is this a coffee table book?
Wait till
or?
it comes out in paperback.
We used to say, I'll wait for the DVD, but yeah, that's old now, isn't it?
Yeah. Closer to the launch, I'll let everybody know through Info Moto what's going on.
Oh, we'll promote the buggery out of it.
Or come to the launch.
Where will the launch be? Milan or
Castlemaine.
Oh, Castlemaine, beauty.
Coincidence?
Yeah.
No. Well, there'll probably be a launch in Melbourne. But the thing about it is it's got an international distribution. So it's not just going to be sold in Australia.
Well, it's got world interest, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Well, that's the theory. And it would work. I mean, it's possible it will work as an international release. If it was just Australia, you wouldn't bother doing it.
No, I think an international. And the other thing is it's pretty timeless.
Yes.
Like I think it's going to sit on shelves for a while. So if it can sit there, you can sit there for
bet your ass
just blow the bloody dust off it like the Shroud of Turin.
Thanks for your support, boys.
I don't mean this in a
Sorry,
nasty way. Sorry, mate.
Well, I'm not going to.
I'm jealous. You are going to be.
I'm not going to give away trade secrets.
A published author.
But these kind of books are great because they can be
Hold the back door open with you.
they can be refreshed every 3 years.
Oh, sorry. Yeah,
So edition 2 with extra information, i.e. all the mistakes in the first one corrected.
Send me another advance.
Forward by Snag Leach.
Can I do the forward?
I haven't
I'd love to
decided
do.
who's
I'd
doing
love
the
to do
forward
the
yet.
forward.
Yeah, well, maybe. Who knows?
No, look, good on you. I think honestly, that'll be a great read. And did you photograph it or did you get someone else?
I'm supposed to present 50% of the photos myself, so I had to learn how to use a camera
big
again.
Lino cuts. You know, the old box brownie come out.
No. I bought a new camera for the occasion. I wish I'd known about taking the lens cap off
Oh,
for the first
bloody technology.
for the first 2 roads I shot. But I'm just going to say I did them at
night?
midnight. Yes, that's what it looks like.
Well, the new cameras are that good that you can be a complete dunderhead and still get a good photo. So I think you'll be all right.
We'll see.
Okay. Well, we look forward to that. Spanner's Best Roads.
Yep.
$9.95 at
No,
Big W.
$9.95.
How much will it be?
Well, it depends whether you get a signed copy or not. The signed ones are cheaper than the actual.
because you kind of ruined a page.
Defaced.
But it's a coffee table. It sounds like it would be coffee table kind of book.
Well, it's part of a series that is supposed to be informative, so it's supposed to be useful as well as entertaining. So let's hope we can get that mix right.
I'm sure it'll be great.
Yeah, we'll see.
I'm pulling the piss, but I'm sure it'll be great, and I'll be looking forward to reading it.
Yep. I'd wait for the second edition, personally, but
well, don't say that. You got to flog the book as hard as you can.
well, yes. But I made a few mistakes in some of the stories I've already written for it.
Have you?
Well,
What did you say?
Apparently, Tasmania is no longer connected to the mainland. I mean, you've got to get some of this technical stuff
That's
right.
a bloody detail.
Yeah.
Thank Christ, I say.
Yep. But yes, I'm looking forward to your reviews.
Yeah, well, we'll review it. I'm very pleased to see that Info Moto's Spannerman is now a published author.
Well, while I was doing that, you were still on your big lap.
I was, I was out there.
That's got to be your story of 2022.
Oh, yeah. Well, regular listeners and watchers and readers were probably sick of it, but yeah, it was my highlight of 2022 for many reasons, and not the least of which is how soon when you look forward to coming home after a trip like that because you're pretty tired and everything's a bit worn out, and then 5 minutes later you go, nothing's changed here. Everyone hates me just as hard as they always did. The fridge is empty.
Yep.
I wish I was still out there. But yeah, the beauty of a trip like that, and I'm not telling anybody that anything they don't know, but is, I think you mentioned it to me, when you're out there day to day, that it's just living and you're doing what you do. The joy is looking at the photos and reliving some of the highlights and, of course, the lowlights and the things you learn on a trip like that. So I have enjoyed that side of it. So any trip, I reckon, lasts longer than the period of the trip itself.
Well, yes, but it can get seared into your memory, can't it? I mean, I bet there's some incidents of that trip that you'll never forget.
Yeah, there's a few spooky ones. Yeah. But look, there's also joyful ones.
Yes.
So,
well, I meant them as well.
Well, yeah, mostly it was joyful, but there's just periods where you probably won't. The only person you'll see that day is someone at a fuel stop. There's every chance you won't see another human being, and you can wind the bike up, like you're sitting on a reasonable speed, and the sun's out, and you're looking at a country you've never seen before, which is quite meditative. I really enjoyed that side of it.
Yeah.
But it's not always fun either. There's there's going to be drama, and you better be ready for it, especially out there. The thing out there, Grant, is the distances. I had no clue of the distances, but when you've gone 440 k's between fuel stops, and you've had to put 10 litres of your own in the bike because they won't cover that distance.
Yes.
And you've seen nothing of any other human being.
Yep.
You go, and then the next day can be the same again. It's so intensely large out there. And that has an effect.
Yeah.
And attitudes and meeting people that work in mines that, have a different attitude to maybe the one that I have.
Yeah.
People with different living the life that we seem to be so happy to have an opinion on.
Well, we kind of assume that people are like the people who live in cities, but they're not, are they?
They're not.
Out in the bush. They're kind of more real because they have to be.
Yes.
They're very practical.
They're pretty quick to call out bullshit.
Yeah. Well,
but often
survival.
it's not.
Survival is important.
Survival's important, and they live with a whole different attitude. Like one example was I had to get a document. That was my will, actually.
Oh.
And because I thought best
Did I get
have
a bike? Did you leave me a bike?
Well, when I set off, I thought I'd better get that will finished because if I die out here, I don't want the kids to have to bloody buggerise around. So I thought there's a good chance I'll die out here, so I better get the will done. So I get the will done, and the day came to leave and I hadn't had it witnessed. Now, I've been told I could have got Joe Blow at the bloody 7-Eleven to witness it, but because I don't know anything about anything, I thought I need to get someone of note to witness this thing.
Governor General.
So I pull into I think I'll go and see a copper, I pull into a bush town and there's one copper and he turns out to be a pretty reasonable bloke. And I said, well, what's the story with speed limits out here? And he said, I book people at 16 over. And he said, that's a number that we hold.
Sounds very reasonable to
me.
me.
He said, if you're 16 over, I reckon you're taking the piss, so I'll book you. But he said, that's pretty much the number everyone works on out here. So the rest of the trip, I sat on 16 over, and he said, no, I'm not pulling anyone up for it. And I told him about how you get pulled up for 3 over. He just was he was horrified. He said, if I did that around here, I'd be hanging.
Yeah.
Well, it's not pulling over, is it? It's the fact that we've got electronic devices now that and there's no one. You'll get a fine for being 3 over the limit.
Yes.
And there's no one to talk to except
there's
a
no
camera.
human element whatsoever.
No human element.
Yeah.
And he couldn't have been nicer about it. He said, look, just don't go over that. You'll be fine. Which was 16 over when you've got a 130 limit.
Yes.
You're sitting on
it's
145.
kind of fast, actually. Yeah, you probably don't want to be going much faster.
You use too much fuel.
Yeah.
Well, isn't that funny? Because that's what contains speeds in the Northern
Use
Territory.
too much fuel.
The fact that people don't want to keep stopping to fill up with very expensive
over
petrol.
about 130, my thing gets real thirsty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really, like
get a bit
worryingly so.
Bit wobbly too with all the gear on too, around 200
Well,
surely.
there was a lot of gear, 60 kilos north of the rear seat. So that was the beauty of having the BMW, having that ESA that could do the preload for me.
Yep.
It judged the weight and all that. I was talking to a guy, he said, I was talking to a lot of people, but Bloke said, "Oh, I did it on a bloody shovel head years ago, you know."
Yeah.
And I said, "How'd you go?" He goes, "Oh, I had too much weight over the rear wheel. It was shocking." He said, "What's that like?" I said, "Oh, yeah, like, you don't even know."
It's a magic carpet in comparison.
So, yeah.
But you could do it on anything. It doesn't mean you should.
Oh, there was a bloke
But
out there on a postie bike.
Yeah, if
I
you're
ran into.
keen, do it.
Another bloke on a Vespa.
Yeah, it's
I didn't bother talking to him because I thought he's an idiot.
Yeah, there's something wrong with him.
There's something wrong with
There's
him.
nothing wrong with scooters.
He's still out there.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
And a bloke pushing a pram
yeah.
full of shit. I kept on running into him. We were old mates in the end
Yeah.
because he kept on getting in front of me. I thought, I'm on a BMW S1000 XR, but I'd run into him and I go, "How are you in front of me?" He goes, "I keep going, mate."
Tortoise
I
wins
keep
the
moving.
race.
Yeah.
This is the Info Moto podcast.
Presented by Auto Glim. Well, yes, the lap, fabulous. But I cannot find a way to talk a publisher into giving me a large advance to write a pretty crappy book about it.
Well, as it happens, you're going to appear in print anyway because
In print?
one of the in a book. Because one of the rides that is going to appear in the book to be published is Vietnam, the big loop ride in Vietnam, and some of the images I've got have got young Spencer Leach.
2012.
Was it 2012?
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah.
10 years ago.
Well, I've got some very strong and vivid memories of that particular trip too. It was a great trip.
What did we
It was a great
do?
trip.
You know, for our rusted on, they must be rusted on to have stuck this long.
Yes.
Or bored shitless or maybe quadriplegics or something.
Hi, Mum.
G'day. What can you tell us what the trip was? What did we do, Grant?
Well, the most shocking thing about that trip was that it was supposed to be a boy's own adventure. But,
Yes.
you took that literally and you bought your two sons.
Well, I had to. I couldn't leave them home.
Well, yeah. And Spencer, who was, I don't know.
Just 18.
Were you 18?
Well,
17.
No, 17.
Spencer was 18.
So my memory of this is no license, never ridden on the road before, 18,
Drunk.
drunk most of the time, and we had
Here's me.
150s.
All this time I've tried to lift our reputation.
It was in the continent. Is that what you say?
No, no, not really. Jeez.
We had 150s, Honda 150s.
They were good.
They were great. They were great.
I had a 250.
They were great, but I was
Yeah, XR250s, weren't they?
no, they weren't 250s.
Yeah, mine was.
Yeah, mine was. I don't know what you,
You
were
didn't
on.
ride like it was a 250.
Well, I had two people on it. I had my son on the back.
Well, that's true. You were carrying a pillion.
Anyway, let's not bog
All
down
right.
who shot who.
Okay, so Spencer's riding this bike in a foreign country for the first time, and you'd have to say it's one of the most obviously dangerous places.
It's a
you could
challenging
ever
ride.
a motorcycle. But Spencer's having a ball because he's
Belting about.
well, he's on a motorbike on public roads, and there's no police, and I worried about him far more than his father worried about him.
Oh, I had another one. If I lost one,
Yeah, well,
I had two.
Hedge
kids.
your bet.
I had my favourite.
so the most terrifying thing I've ever seen was a truck that Spencer was behind that had pulled onto the wrong side of the road so it could get round this really tight corner
Yes.
that it was going around, and all Spencer
saw the gap.
saw this gap and said, "Oh, beauty!" So he gassed up the 150, and that's
250.
It was a 250.
250. All right. He gassed up the 250, but you could have pedalled faster than it accelerated.
They weren't very quick.
And he's
Shitty tyres they were on. And,
He's got about halfway past the truck, so he's in the middle, and the truck's decided, all right, now's the time to turn into this corner. And
the gap just narrowing.
I don't know. I watched it. I was behind looking at it. I don't know how he got through, but it was a hair's breadth. The guy who was driving the truck wouldn't have seen you.
Doesn't know it
Didn't
happened.
know you were there. And I think that was on day 2 or
That
something.
was- he
And
put-
we were
That's
having
5 minutes in.
yeah, and we were 10 days. I'm thinking this is going to end really
This is
badly.
not going to be good.
But it didn't. It ended.
Well,
it
I
ended
actually
great.
kept it upright. Unlike.
Now, that's enough of the podcast. I mean, we've gone long enough.
No,
People are
wrap
bored.
it up.
People are wrap it up.
Well,
Move
just,
on.
Just
Nothing to see
Just
here.
to remind anyone who hasn't heard the story that Greg actually had 2 crashes in 20 seconds in the same spot. And
It's a record, actually. I think.
how that can happen is that
It's an acoustic instant replay.
how that can happen is we picked him
There's
out
no
of
truth in
the
this.
bush he fell in. with his son as a pillion, and he attempted to leave the scene of the crime and tipped over again into the same bush in exactly the same spot.
It's only
2 crashes, 20 seconds. Unbelievable.
That's a record.
The same crash. You've got action replay.
There's no point me trying to support myself.
No, you're wasting
it's
your
just
time.
a waste of my time. Yeah. I'll tell you the truth about it in another podcast, okay? But clearly I'm going to be painted. This 2 crash thing.
This 2 crash thing. Well, I might mention it in the book, actually, now that you've reminded me.
Well, no one will read it.
But it's great to be able to include this Vietnam ride because we had a ball, didn't we?
Oh, we did. It was great.
Trip of a lifetime.
Yeah, it was great.
And it was culturally great.
Yeah.
The roads were the roads were terrible, but it was a terrific ride.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah. The place is stunning.
Yeah, and the people are lovely. And
I loved that trip. It was just a bloody beauty.
You developed some respect also for small capacity motorcycles because they were just about perfect.
They did the job.
We were may as well have been on bloody shovel heads as far as the Vietnamese people were concerned. A 250 is a big motorcycle.
Huge.
Yeah, we were clearly players.
Yeah.
Yep. And all the kids in the towns we passed through waved at us. And
to consider that we went over there, bombed the shit case out of the place, basically made no friends and, left the place in a shambles. The way they've forgotten about that and I wouldn't let us anywhere near the front gate if I were them. But yeah, the warmest reception everywhere we went.
Yep.
I do remember going out one night because Spence was about 6 feet tall. Oh, it's not so much Spence, but Gus was about 6 feet tall at that age. And people following him like he was like a rock star. How old was he? Like 13 or something?
He
would have been
star.
14. And people following him because he was just an oddity. He said, Dad, why are these people following me? I said, because I've never seen anyone as big as you at your age.
Yeah.
But it was all with love and warmth, and it was lovely.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was terrific.
We did get chased by
You've been
police,
heaps of times, haven't you, to Vietnam?
Well, I always say I'm not going to do it again after the last trip, but I'd go in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Well, you lived there, didn't you?
I probably
for a while.
will. Oh, yeah, for a year, yeah. That's
was
true.
it different living in a place like that than just doing the visit?
Yeah, it was very different, but it was very rewarding.
Yeah. Tell me what was the highlight of that?
We could have stayed a lot longer than we did, and in fact, the last time I went, we were going to stay for another 8 months in Hanoi.
Your wife was teaching.
She was teaching, and I was just going to have fun
drinking.
But we got evacuated by the Australian government because of COVID. So we got the last flight out of.
A bit like the Saigon,
Ho Chi Minh City. Yeah, it was like
choppers on the roof.
The people on the roof, yeah, and there were people in the airport terminal was packed with people crying because they couldn't get flights, and we were on the last.
This is the highlight.
We were on the last jet.
Going to hit some Hong Kong mattress all night long.
No, but and I haven't been back since. But I hope I get the chance to do it again. And as
you've done it twice.
I've done it 4. I know I've done it 5 times, but. I want you guys to come next time as well.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Yeah, I would love to do that
because I know how much you enjoyed it. The other book, the book also has a story about a ride in India, but you've been to India recently.
I'm going. Next month.
Going.
Oh, it's next month.
That's actually under embargo. So.
Oh, is it?
So he's not going.
I'm not going.
Okay, so Spence isn't going to India next month. No, for who? For
it's under embargo.
Who aren't
I don't know why I wrote
for?
it up on the board now. I've written it up on the board. No, we can't talk about that. That'll come.
I am going to New Zealand though, in February or March to ride the new Suzuki V-Strom 800DE, the first,
which is a really
parallel twin.
No, it's a very interesting bike.
Yeah, totally.
I reckon they'll sell like hotcakes.
Well, I think they will too. But also the new 250.
Yeah, Snag rode that.
I just went to the launch of that the other day. Yeah, that was. Look, as I said in the video, if anyone's seen it, if you haven't, I think it's very well priced. It's $64.90 right away.
It's unbelievably well priced.
They've done a deal in India. They're building a lot of engines in India now, and from what I can gather, there's no drop in quality, and that's allowed them to price point the bikes as well as they have.
$64.90 is stupid. That's a used bike.
Yep, and it's quite a solid little jigger. And to be honest with you, I'm getting to the stage where as I say in the video, I don't love sand, and It doesn't love me. But I can deal with a light 250 in the sand.
Yeah.
I can get through and all right.
If you're on a multi-strata or a GSA or something, be a whole
I'll
box
tell you
of
the
frogs.
truth. I get into the dirt, like sand on a big bike. I'm shitting myself. It was like when I was away on the XR.
You got to, I mean, not to say I'm confident in it either, but it's clear that you have to approach it with courage and confidence and commitment.
Oh, it finds you out. And I know you were on the Tuareg launch, and that was quite challenging. I never would have got through that. I admit it. I would have been so intimidated by that.
Well, that's all it is, though. It's intimidation.
It is.
It's not actually that hard. It's a mind game.
I remember riding 300 kilometres of sand years ago on a V-Strom, a big one, heading into Menindee from Ivanhoe. And
Yes.
up in the middle there. And yeah, I did get through and that, but I was a younger man. And in all honesty, I'm just getting back to that 250 SX. It's got more than enough grunt for me. You can get a little bit of roost. I'll get there in the end. Just wait.
Yeah.
And it will bring, at $64.90, if you can buy a new bike.
Going to bring a lot of people into the game that previously wouldn't have done it. And it's going to make people like Royal Enfield sweat a little bit because...
That's a good point, actually, because the Himalayan did fill that gap.
It sure did.
Yeah.
It was the only bike in the...
There's a big jump. And then you had to go to the BMW 310, which was a lot of money. It's kind of made its own niche a little bit, which I think Suzuki's got good at.
There's more coming into that spot, though. I think. How do you pronounce the word burgeoning? Burgeoning. It's a
burgeoning.
Burgeoning.
segment.
I thought it was a designer of an old Ducati.
I'm racking my brains thinking.
Ennio Burgioni.
It was.
Yeah, he built a good bike, Burgioni.
That's pretty embarrassing, actually.
Yeah, that's pretty. Well, leave that in. You're happy to talk about my 2 crashes. Let's stay. Let me. About time we chuck some embarrassment around.
But it's very nice to see Suzuki kind of developing in this particular way. That bike is going to be successful, I'm sure. But it's also really good, and I'm sure you guys agree with this, that the adventure bikes are focusing around the 800, 700, 800 cc.
And smaller.
They're smaller and lighter and more practical. The CF Moto.
CF Moto. Big up-and-comers CF Moto.
Yep. Good bike.
Producing good hardware.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm pleased to see that too. And the price, of course, for a middleweight is cheaper than it is for a biggie. People can stretch to that price more easily. And I love the idea of younger people coming into the adventure because, let's be honest, the adventure market is the burgeoning.
It's burgeoning hard,
It's burgeoning all over the place.
Yeah.
Yep.
But it is. And it's fun. It's great fun to be able to go down a dirt road.
Fabulous. Well, be able to travel on Australia's roads at the moment and not worry about the bike wearing out.
Yes, good point. Yeah, let me tell you about some potholes that I saw on that lap.
Yep.
Seriously, you could abseil down it. It was really dangerous, actually.
Yep.
And I think it's got worse subsequent to the latest floods.
Yes.
It was very dangerous. Like you'd be going through water that's only 2 inches deep, but you just don't know what's next.
Yep. Don't know what's under it.
So I don't know how we got to that, but the point is you can go down. Like a good example is when you cross the Nullarbor, the beautiful part of the bight is off the road. Yes. And it's not far off the road, but it's like 2 or 3 Ks and it's quite deep sand. Now, if you want to go and see that, and look, you can't cross the Nullarbor without going and see that. Well, I parked and walked.
Well, you'd rather do it on the Suzuki 250 than...
Well, you got a chance of getting there.
Yeah.
So, look, I love big bikes and, you know, I'll always say horsepower and capacity is the way to go.
No replacement for displacement.
No replacement for displacement. Thanks, Spence. That's good.
Yep.
But the point being, the market is now saying we want pragmatism around our bikes, and I'm wrapped that is. Makes sense to me.
Yeah, and I like Suzuki getting competitive again in the marketplace because how long has the V-Strom 650 been available?
For 20 years.
Yeah, and they were at $9,990 for that long, under 10 grand to buy a bike like that. Again, price pointed. Yep. Unburstable, that engine.
Fabulous bike. But
it's not, believe it or not, it's still around though. The 650
they're still going to sell it.
Yeah. I guess they'll sell it until they run out of them. I don't know how that works. But
I'm not sure how that works.
I don't know if they're still building them or not. I'm not sure, but
they're certainly still in the shops.
I mean, the 800 you can't make lambs approved because it's too many CCs.
Well,
It might
there's
just be an Australia thing.
There's that. It seems odd to run those two together, although they are quite different configurations. But, yeah, I would think we will see the end of the 650.
Yeah,
but
you'd reckon.
I don't know that.
No.
I don't know that. There might be markets that singing out for it.
I'd be surprised because it's such a great package.
Yes.
And it's still popular. And
It might come down to emissions regulations.
It's word of mouth too, isn't it?
I think
everyone who owns one,
emissions regulations.
Yeah.
Everyone who owns one loves them.
Well, when I was
they
on the
tell their
LAF
friends.
again, sorry to bore you with that, but every second bike was a V-Strom 650.
Yeah.
The other one was a KLR,
Yeah.
that Kawasaki KLR. I also saw the Rally, the Honda Rally, a bit.
Oh, yeah.
The 300.
Yes, 300L.
But I did see a bloke that was riding one of them, and I kept on running into him, and he was a boring bastard. But it's amazing how you keep running into the same people. But he was on knobby tyres, which, I mean, I said, what are you thinking? But he said, he was selling it at Cyclone. He said, I'm trading it in on a, can't remember what, but it was more like it was V-Strom 650 or something. Yeah. I said, well, look, there's times when I'd much rather be on yours. But he said for sitting on...
They're a bit busy at highway speeds.
Yeah, a bit busy. And he said it's just killing him, the tyres and blah, blah, blah. But my point being, I don't know what. Did I have a point?
That's interesting.
Yeah, thanks.
We've had a great year at INFO MOTO, haven't we? I mean, despite the
it's been great.
The economic conditions in Australia, despite the pandemic, INFO MOTO's going gangbusters.
Yeah, we're going well. And look, a lot of that's down to Spence's hard work, who's done by far the lion's share of the work at the computer and off it.
I feel I've made a contribution that you could acknowledge.
I think you've been fantastic.
Thanks. Thanks, Greg.
And Ian Falloon, I mean, I honestly think, I'm going to get serious now, it takes a while. If you start up a media business, the hard bit is reputation. Because when you first start, you're selling vaporware. No one knows what you're talking about. There's a lot of people who have ideas. I think we carried into INFO MOTO a good degree of expertise, but we are now respected in the trade. I think we come into thinking very early in the conversation, and that's just miles. And, Spence has put, it must be nearly 1,000 stories up there now. I think last time we talked to her was about 500 last year about this time. Must be nearly 1,000 stories up there.
3 million words.
3 million words. How many YouTube views?
1.66 million.
1.66 million. A really big social media reach, podcast, newsletter. So we've done it seriously, and I'm very proud of it.
Got to also shout out to Mark Mavi Fattore, who's been really good for us too.
Yeah, Mavi, GP updates with his inimitable quirk.
Yep.
How does he see the race over the fence?
Well, look, we don't get into the...
How's it going, Snag?
We don't get into the weeds with this stuff. But yeah, look, it has been a great year, and we're going to head into 2000. What's next year?
2023.
If this hernia doesn't go again.
Oh, God.
That's the other thing. I came in today, got a hernia. That's how much I put into this bloody business.
Which is ridiculous because you can ride around Australia and pick up that giant bike every time it falls over.
Well, I didn't. It fell over. I had to wave someone down. But that's another story.
And you walk into a studio and you get a hernia.
I got a hernia.
Oh.
Well, it doesn't. What's good about getting old, Grant? Tell me.
Oh, nothing.
Nothing.
There's this will be very short. There's nothing good about
I tell this story, man, so I'll tell it again just for the sake of our viewers. But I was walking my beautiful dog in a park many years ago. Not that long ago. Well, she was alive.
So makes it easier to walk.
Sort of work out when it was. Yeah, it's easier to walk
instead of dragging. Yeah,
and I'm standing in the middle of this park, and there's only me and the dog, and I'm contemplating my navel, and this old bloke's heading towards me slowly, on a stick, and I thought he's coming to me. He must be. There's only me and the dog here, so it takes him a while to cover the 400 metres. He walks up to me, gets too close to my face. I think, what's going to happen here? And he says, "There's nothing fucking good about getting old." And then he just walked off. And I thought that was a bit strange, but over the years, I've thought, he's onto something, that old bugger.
Yeah, he's an angel.
He's an
angel passing on the truth to you.
I think I'm going to get a stick and start walking around telling people there's nothing fucking good about getting old.
Well, yeah, you shouldn't be too negative about it because we're all getting older.
Well, it's better than the alternative.
It's better than the alternative, and you do get a bit of wisdom with age. the trouble is you can't do anything with it.
I reckon you're as stupid as when I first met you.
I'm possibly worse now than I was when you met me. Yes, that's true.
Yeah, look, INFO MOTO will be going flat knacker next year. Grant, thank you very much for a great year. Really appreciate your involvement. I mean, the word Spannerman carries a lot of cachet, and it should.
It's always been my pleasure, and I'm really looking forward to 2023 because I think we've got a lot of great adventures ahead of us.
I think I said 2024, didn't
I? No, you said 2023. Yeah.
No?
But we've got a lot of great adventures planned.
Yes, we have.
And
we might start paying you shortly.
The INFO MOTO site is just going to get bigger and better. So stick with it.
Stick with us. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, and be good to your kids.
Oh, yeah, don't give them too much presents.
No, don't give them too much presents.
Yeah. But be good to your
kids.
Too
many presents, not too much.
Too many. Be good to your kids.
Did you get me anything?
Yeah.
Same as last year.
Where do you think this suit came from?
See you, folks.
See you, folks.
Rock and roll. This is the INFO MOTO podcast.
Presented by Autoglim.